So I'll go ahead and share the screen.
You can go ahead and share the screen. Welcome, everyone. We're going to give everyone a moment to join us as they're exiting the plenary session, which was hard to leave. We're so glad you've made it to our Innovation Festival. This is Innovation Fest number 3. So let's see. We have quite a few people. Let me admit the people from the waiting room. There's a bunch of people waiting to get in the door. It's not letting me admit them. Maybe Kate could help me.
People are in progress joining, so hopefully they can get in here.
Joining. You guys have a lot of attendees coming your way, so get excited. Okay. Vishal, would you like to start us off?
Sure. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Vishal Surendra, and today I'll be kind of presenting to you about and sharing the experience related to engaging hybrid core clerkship experience with the focus on improving the undergraduate and graduate medical education transition. So the background picture is of the Fernandina Beach, which I'm going to head out shortly. I am in Amelia Island on work, but yes, here we are, and I hope that what I'm sharing does help you out, and let's have an engaging session. So there's I don't have any disclosures to reveal, but I do have a blog post posted on the aquifer, but there is no financial compensation whatsoever related to that. My name again is Vishal Surendra. I'm Vice Dean of Academics, as well as Associate Dean of Clinical Clerkship of a medical school located on a teeny island in the Caribbean called as St. Kitts. I've been associated with this university from past 15 years, more in the administration in the past 5 to 6 years. So today, I would like to discuss related to the topic, and the objectives for this session are in terms of, I would like to kind of reveal to you what's the structure of our clerkship curriculum. What do I mean? What do we mean by hybrid structure? I would like to share with you the success challenges as well as what students feel about it, and see what questions we have and what can we kind of take out of this session. So to start off, I would love to get certain things clarified or find out from you. So if you're able to respond in the chat to a few questions, I would really appreciate that. I would like to find out, the first question is, have you retained any components of virtual instruction you might have been part of, or you might have created during the start of the pandemic? So I would love for you to respond either yes or no in the chat. Yep. I think most of you have said yes. I'll come to the reason for asking these questions shortly. The next question I would like to find out from you, get response from you is, are your students engaged in any active learning sessions, and especially are they in person or online? So you could respond to one answer as either A or B. If in case you are doing active learning and it's in person, it could be A, and combination of that. I do see mixed responses. Okay. Thought I had another question. Yes, there's another question. Does your clerkship have any online assignment, asynchronous online assignments? Would like to find out yes or no. Right, okay. All right, so most of you have responded to the first question with regards to, did you retain things from the pandemic, the virtual experience? Most of you had said yes. Most of you have said that the online assignments you do have, the asynchronous assignments, but some of you have mentioned it's not graded. And then for this question in terms of engagement with active learning, I think you said both online as well as personal. Well, what you might be doing basically is hybrid clerkship then. So it's all semantic. It's basically the terminology that we are using, but how we have done it in terms of what truly the engagement aspect is what I wanted to share with you. At the peak of the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, as well as later on, and based on what I have reviewed in terms of the conference last year, several of the presentations dealt with the online curriculum, the innovations that were made. But I was very curious in terms of knowing what would happen as we move out of the pandemic, which still looks like it's not done yet. But the aspect of what we did was, since we put in a lot of effort in terms of creating certain instructional materials during the pandemic or at the beginning of the pandemic, we were very kind of hesitant in kind of just abandoning them. So we definitely utilized a lot of the things that we created at the beginning of pandemic, but incorporating that into the traditional curriculum. And that's what I'm going to share with you. This was also, the similar topic was, as I mentioned earlier on, made part of a blog post on Aquifer, because we have done similar thing with other clerkship as well, internal medicine, surgery, pediatrics, family medicine. But in general, the overall experience, what we went through, we have shared that in the Aquifer blog post. You could access that via the link shown on the slide. So yeah, the background, as I mentioned, we wanted to retain things, but at the same time, we were in a transition phase at our medical school in terms of the curriculum change for the pre-clerkship curriculum, in terms of going from traditional subject to organ-based curriculum. We followed certain principles, the common principle of aligning objectives, instruction, and assessment. And we wanted to do the same with regards to the clinical clerkship as well. And we had an opportunity. Well, we consider pandemic as an opportunity because we were able to restructure a lot of our instructional material for the clerkship. And when it came to the OB-GYN clerkship, we did not have to look far and wide because a lot of resources were readily available on APGO. So that's what we did, and during the pandemic, and then we have retained the things that we did during the pandemic and continue to do so right now. And one key feature that we feel that is something that we are proud of is, or we want to be proud of, is the process of mapping the undergraduate medical education objectives, the APGO objectives, to the ACGME level 1 milestone, those objectives, and linking it to various assessment methods that we implement. So in the handout that's available to you, you could see certain images in reference to this. I would be kind of briefly talking about it just know about it as well. So yeah, what do I mean? What do we mean by the hybrid experience? For us, hybrid, it's basically delivering not online component first followed by the face-to-face instruction. It's delivering both of them in conjunction. That's what our definition of hybrid is. So for this, the students go through the 6-week clerkship experience. They do the bedside learning, they attend the didactics in person, but we have a weekly kind of a curriculum that the students are made part of. And in this, there is both asynchronous as well as synchronous learning happening. And inside this online experience, there's a key feature that we make the standout point of as engagement is the team-based learning exercise done once a week. And this team-based learning exercise or the sessions utilize the APGO topic-based teaching cases. So the IRAT aspect of the TBL, we test the topics that were asynchronously assigned to the students. So that's one form of kind of making sure there is compliance in terms of students are reviewing what is required in order to be prepared for certain topics. And then the team application exercises as well is based on the case-based topics of the APGO. And in the asynchronous assignments, we also have the APGO, the basic clinical skills resources made available to the students, and certain other resources, video-based and kind of material based. So that's the instruction that's delivered, and the assessment is in line with that. As I just mentioned, the TBL, there is an assessment, there is the quizzes, there is the team application exercise, and then periodically there is kind of a comprehensive examinations for the portion of obstetrics. Obstetrics is delivered in week 1 and week 2, and week 3 is the assessment week. So there is obstetric-based comprehensive examination week 3, and then there is gynecology topics for week 4 and 5, and there's a comprehensive examination towards the end of week 5. And week 6, there is everything being tested medical knowledge-wise. When it comes to the clinical skills, we have formative simulation-based sessions where we kind of train the students in certain skills, clinical skills that will be eventually tested in the final OSCE during week 6. And for this final OSCE, we have tweaked the case-based curriculum APGO cases. There are 4 cases, 2 inpatient, 2 outpatient for obstetrics and gynecology. We tweak these cases into being used for the standardized patient OSCE examination. And as part of those 4 cases, the clinical skills, we broke it down, and those are the skills that is taught during each week as part of the clinical skills training. So all of this is what makes us feel a little bit more confident that what we are teaching them, what we are assessing them is in line with what is required in terms of satisfying the APGO objectives, as well as preparing for the next level, which is to be ready to enter the residency program when it comes to the level 1 milestone for the ACGME objectives. So at this point, I would like to kind of briefly go into the platform on which the weekly online instructional material is made available. So I'm going to come out of the full screen mode here. Kate, am I good on the timing?
Still good.
Okay. All right. So now this is the platform, the Google Classroom, on which we have the online instructional material made available to the students. This is the module on obstetrics, the first 2 weeks, the normal obstetrics and abnormal obstetrics. The asynchronous reading assignments are made available to the students, again, as I mentioned earlier on, based on the topics, objectives of the APGO. various lecture recordings that's available. Then we do have the APGO for case assignment as well as reading assignments to cater for various forms of learners, visual learners, auditory learners, or then this is followed by, as I said, weekly STEAM-based learning sessions. And this is again based on the topics that were assigned for that week. And this is what makes it more engaging in terms of making sure the students have compliance in terms of they learning what is required and testing them as well. And this is the clinical skills section where there is resources available for the various topics for that particular week, and some other video resources as well. So this continues for the second week, and then third week is, as I mentioned, in terms of certain clinical skills practice session as well as simulation sessions. For this, the instructors, and by the way, there are two instructors helping out and assisting students. One is a basic scientist, basic science clinical faculty, and one from the clinical sciences, either a volunteering preceptor or the department chair from time to time, who comes in and kind of precedes these sessions. So that's one more thing that we are proud of in terms of integration as well. And so this is the obstetrics section, and then this is the gynecology section. The same thing, it continues. And during the week 6 is when we deliver students, or they undergo the OSCE examination. And as I mentioned earlier on, we do have individual simulation sessions, which again is preceded by a pre-test followed by the session, and then we assess them using those milestone cases, and it's in the format of a Google form. So going back to the presentation quickly, what else is left? So far that is that's the material and the platform that we have. In terms of the outcome, the students definitely felt confident and comfortable being part of this program. They felt they were well prepared for the face-to-face aspect. They felt more confident in doing the supervised procedural skills or doing routine examinations. As well, they felt well prepared for the NBME shelf examinations. In fact, the students did perform, the cohort which are part of this hybrid curriculum did perform fairly better than the traditional face-to-face only cohort. So overall, we do feel that students do enjoy as well as are doing well with this hybrid clerkship curriculum. And the key takeaways is basically use what is available. We have done that. Readily available APGO resources made easily accessible in terms of reducing the cognitive load. Instead of allowing students to go and search various sites, it's made available in one single location, and utilizing the same resources to kind of engage the students in the format of team-based learning and making sure the students gain the required knowledge and clinical skills. And the next takeaway is basically our attempt to ensure students are made ready for the next phase, which is a residency at the core clerkship level, not something to leaving up to an elective level, because we do feel that students need the basic set of skills and knowledge, be it they enter any residency program, if not OBG, even if they enter into other residency program, which our students commonly enter, which is family medicine or pediatrics, they would need this. So that's why we are attempting to ensure they do gain this. And one way we are doing that is mapping it to the the ACGME level 1 milestones. So that's it. If there are any questions.
So we are going to take questions for Vishal's part of this presentation on his hybrid curriculum. You can put your questions in the chat, or you could turn on your mic, turn on your camera and show us your face. We'd love to see you and hear from you. I have a question. I'll fill up a moment.
Right.
Here. So the platform
Sure.
is Google Classroom. I'm not familiar with Google Classroom. Is there a fee associated with its use, or does your school have buy-in to this Google Classroom? How easy is it to develop the modules, and is it user-friendly on the faculty side?
Yes, it definitely is. In fact, one reason why we use Google Classroom is because it's a very simple layout. And as I mentioned, the cognitive load or the learning curve, which might be associated with certain other commercially available platforms, is high. There's a learning curve after which the instructors have to learn the process, go through the onboarding, and then kind of work on it. But this is a very intuitive, simple layout that can be very easily generated. And even for students, it's a very kind of a simple layout that they can follow. There's nothing much in terms of learning anything about it. So our university has a Google Suite. So basically it's available for free. I don't think there's any additional fees required. Once there is that, there is a certain level of subscribers to the Google Suite, I think it's freely available. But I can make that particular information, I'm not entirely accurate. I don't have the accurate information. I can get back to you on that.
No, I was just
but
curious.
I think it's free.
So yeah, it's free for your students, and it's at least covered by your institution. So it's really facile, it sounds like, which is fantastic. Yeah. All right, I don't see any questions yet in the chat. So here I go with my next question, or at least kudos. I like how you are honoring different types of learners with their different styles of learning. It's probably for the generation of learners that we're all trying to educate, really engaging, and they can all kind of get the different parts of their learning styles honored by that. So I just wanted to shout out to that. I think that's fantastic. And then you said, finally, my last comment / question, I guess, all of the students who participated in the hybrid, by your metrics, did better on the objective measure shelf exam success. And so therefore, follow-up question to that, is this, you're going to keep it even though we're maybe once we're past the pandemic? Is this a hybrid keeper? I mean, are we keeping it?
Yes. Yes. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's basically everybody is doing that. It's just a fancy word for how we deliver the curriculum. But the plan definitely is to continue this and make it more meaningful for the students, make it more interesting, and try to have a more structured approach. We definitely have seen that it's very well structured in the basic sciences, the preclinical years, where the instruction is delivered in a very structured fashion. But as we move into the clinical clerkship years, it's like you're on your own. So especially around the time when there is pandemic still ongoing and the effects might continue for a long time, we want to ensure we support our students and give them the added guidance, because we have noticed that by doing this approach, we are covering other aspects, including the advisory program. The two instructors that are assigned act as the advisors, closely following the students and assist them in various ways. Yes, so in summary, we would definitely be continuing this for a long time.
Very well. Very
yeah.
Well. All right. Now we have a very nice audience here. Would anybody else have any other questions for Vishal? Giving them a moment. You can either turn on your microphone and your camera, or you can put it in the chat. Everybody's shy. Or maybe there's they're trying and they just can't get their answer in fast enough. I don't know.
I think it's okay. I think if they're watching this recording as well, if they're interested, they can definitely reach out, and I would definitely love to get back to them as well.
Wonderful. Is your contact information available within the Whova app?
I think so. If not, I think it's my first name. It's Vishal, Vishal at windsor.edu.
Can you put it in the chat for us too?
Sure.
Thank you so much, Vishal.
No
All
problem.
right, we're going to transition to Aparna. Perfect. Thank you for putting that in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
All right.
I was talking on mute, but that's been my special on Zoom. But welcome everyone again. My name is Aparna Sridhar. I am the clerkship director at the David Geffen School of Medicine at the University of California, Los Angeles. And I wanted to share a low-cost, innovative approach that we used. They're audio patient encounters as propellants for student performance evaluations. I have no disclosure. Jill, did you have anything?
Could you go into the presenter mode for us?
Sure, yeah. Great. So no disclosures. So I run, I'm the clerkship director for the Ob-Gyn clerkship, and I have 7 different sites with 7 different site directors. So there are about 4 residency programs involved, and like across the board, and there's like a lot of variations in the sites. At times I find it difficult to standardize, especially the key domains of the student performance evaluations. One of the things that bothered me a lot was the medical documentation, because different sites have different EMRs. Like some of them have Epic, one of them has Cerner, one of them has another one. So the documentation differs, and some of them have the ability for the medical students to write a note in there. Some of them will require them to write a note on a Microsoft Word and then share it with them so they can evaluate it. So there was a lot of differences in the medical documentation. And, given how dispersed they are, it's very hard for us to kind of perform OSCEs. And of course, it's expensive and time consuming with faculty involvements being key. So our objective was to perform a low cost, audio-based patient encounter and demonstrate the use of these audio encounters to the domains related to the student performance evaluations. In particular, I wanted to check if we could evaluate mainly the medical documentation, but also some part of fund of knowledge, ability to generate a treatment plan, ability to develop a differential diagnosis. So these key things, I wanted to see if we could evaluate that. So we developed an audio encounter based on a pre-existing APGO case-based curriculum. We used the topic of abnormal uterine bleeding. We just recorded with our iPhone. I think you can see on my camera, like every iPhone comes with this voice recorder, voice memos. It's super straightforward. You just hit record and it records it, and it converts it into like an audio file. And you can easily save it as like an M4A file, very easy to upload into any place. And we just created this with 2 of my medical students who are really interested to help me out. So I'm gonna play the audio button.
Hi, Ms. Cunningham. I'm the medical student working with Dr. Sridhar today in clinic. It's nice to meet you. What's bringing you in today?
Nice to meet you too. I just want to see the doctor because I'm a little bit worried that my periods have been much heavier over the last few months, and my last period has now lasted for 3 weeks, which has never happened to me before.
I see why that might worry you. How long have you noticed that your periods have been heavier?
For the last 6 months or so.
Okay. And by heavy bleeding, how many pads or tampons are you using each day? Okay. And it sounds like you've been having daily heavy bleeding since then.
Yeah, and that's never happened to me before, so that's why I thought I should maybe come in.
So I'm going to keep, swifting a bit faster in the interest of time, but basically it's a pre-made script that two of our students are kind of like enacting, and they've recorded it on their iPhone, and we finally kind of converted that
Yeah,
into
absolutely.
an audio
I'm glad.
encounter.
Well, my mom has diabetes and hypertension. I know she also has she had a hysterectomy, but I'm not sure why she had that. And my dad is pretty healthy. Problems.
Okay, great. And when were those pregnancies?
My daughter was born in 2006, and then my sons were born in 2010 and 2012.
Great. And it sounds like you're married and have 3 kids. Do you all live together?
Yeah, I live with my husband and my kids. It's a full house, keeps me busy when I'm not working.
Hi,
So-
Miss Cunningham.
That is the audio encounter. And once the audio encounter was done, what we did was that we embedded in this into the electronic survey. So our UCLA has access to the Qualtrics survey. I don't know, like this could be any other survey, tool for that matter. So we made a Qualtrics survey with their first and last name, their email address, which site they belong to. And then the instruction was to listen to the patient encounter below and take notes. After listening, you'll be writing a complete H&P for this patient. And then there's preliminary information given, some vital signs, and we embedded this audio in the survey. After that, immediately after listening to this case, they have to put 5 differential diagnoses just by listening. Again, in terms of the pelvic exam, and then there is a set of questions about what labs they need to, they want to order. There is a set of them that they could pick from, what imaging studies they would like to obtain. And as soon as they do that, we'll give them again some more information, just like oral boards that we took, like they'll give them, okay, this is what the CBC showed, TSH was so-and-so, urine pregnancy was negative, and here is an image of the transvaginal ultrasound, and gathered, write an H&P, which kind of has all the components, OB history, GYN history, survey. Once the survey is ended, it just takes them back to, for example, you can see here on my PowerPoint mode. So on their mobile phones, this will look like that, exact same survey that I showed you. And you can also do it on your browser, and ultimately, that'll convert it into your PDF. So how we distributed it, we would send like a box folder with an ACOG practice bulletin for AUB as a study material. So they have to study the practice bulletin first. And then there is an electronic survey that has been embedded into the box folder as well as emailed at the beginning of the rotation. They have a set time. So they have about 1 week to finish the activity. And once they're done with the activity, we download the responses. And I'm going to show you how the responses are going to look like. Sorry. Download. You guys are seeing all my. The download will pretty much look like data and analysis. It will kind of give me all the students' name and then like the PDF messages. So I can just view response. It shows that they took about 8 minutes to complete the whole survey. And just to kind of go over, so here is all the first part of it, and you can just hit download for this and it will save itself as a PDF, and that we can actually share it. So the site directors are supposed to evaluate the the site directors will use this as a part of their evaluation, and as well as like first they'll give them feedback and during the mid-clerkship feedback, so that they can have like some key tips to improve their medical documentation, as well as like it kind of gives us a moment to understand their ability to generate differential diagnosis, fund of knowledge on AUB, and also generating treatment plan. So at this point in time, we have completed about 7 blocks, as of now, probably 8 blocks of clerkship with about 150 students. Overall, I wanted to see from the evaluators, all my site directors, and there's been really positive responses from the site directors in terms of being able to give them some concrete examples of how to write a note or what are the things that they're doing right or wrong in documentation. And even from students, they want where one of the sites, we forgot to send them the PDF, came back to me and like, oh, they didn't never talk to us about this. And we were really looking forward to doing this. So we really have students asking for feedback from this exercise. So we are in the process of developing other clinical cases. There's one on early pregnancy bleeding that we're developing. We have some others, concrete examples, and also the APGO case-based cases, so that we are going to convert it to. And we also are thinking of developing something similar pertaining to non-clinical cases, like to evaluate like understanding of health disparity teaching. And we're really interested if any one of you wants to collaborate to perform more of a wider systematic evaluation. So that's kind of basically what I wanted to share. Very low cost, easy to make. Anyone can kind of do this. And the responses and what we can evaluate from this has been pretty good. So thank you for listening. And
all right, we now open up the floor to questions for Aparna and her important new tool that could be possibly adapted and adopted by us. So any questions in the chat, or you could turn on your cameras and shout out your questions right now.
I think it's you again, Jill.
All right, I'm ready. So what I thought was neat is that it outputs to a PDF so that your evaluators then all have that output and can then evaluate it. And it gives you metrics, like it tells you how long the student took to do it, which could be something to study or look at. Have you guys noticed like, hey, some students are spending a lot of time trying to get it right, or they're spending a lot of time and still not getting it so right? What do you know so far based on the data that you have?
Yeah, it's pretty uniform, because unless you listen to the full audio encounter, there is no way you can actually do the full exercise. Because some of the exercises I felt like the students, if it's just a Q&A and some portion for them to study, they skip the study part and they just rush to the Q&A and they finish it. Literally in some of our pediatrics and all, they complain that some of these pre-made, modules and questions, they spend about 3 seconds on the module. I mean, you really cannot learn anything in there. But in here, they're forced to listen to the whole thing, because without listening, they cannot write an HNP. So they have to kind of listen to it. So there is like a roughly pretty similar one so far in terms of what we see. In terms of the time, but I think we are really looking for, I wanted to gather at least 1 year full data before we actually analyzed it. But I thought it was still good enough to present in the Innovative Fest, because it was a new thing that we did, and it was worth like sharing our experience with this.
So the data that we get for the time is how long it took them to both work through the entire module and write the H&P, but not separate.
Yeah, because it's all embedded into one survey. So from the click of the survey to the end, that's what we get. We also get like where they're accessing it from, and like, all the different things. And it has to be evaluated, so it's not anonymous, because it's a part of their evaluation.
True. Okay. What case are you going to? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to ask for, I should have raised my hand. Here we go, Jill. How do I do that? I don't know.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, here we go. There we are. For people who may be considering trying to do something similar, what are some of the challenges that you encountered?
So you need
Lessons learned.
So for example, I have, so now with the 4-week blocks, my group of students every block is about 15 to average 20. And so 20 of these responses, you have to be able to download it. You have to divvy up into each sites, and you have to be able to send it to each of those site directors. Or if you want to look at it yourself, you really have to look at it. We have a guide to which you can compare, because I mean, the evaluator who's actually looking at it should understand what the case is and if what they've written is actually accurate or not. So there is a guide to follow so that the evaluators actually have it. And the students, I mean, I feel like they have such short capacity, like the attention span is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So I didn't want the case to be that long, but I still feel like, you know, they're just, I feel some enthusiasm like doing something, but no, it's not like they're like, oh yeah, one more thing to do.
Right.
But for me, my main motive was the documentation. Can they write an HNP, and can everybody kind of like be compared by writing an HNP? At least do you get all the components right? So that part, it's comparably, it's pretty easy to evaluate.
Right.
Thank you.
What case are you planning to do next? What's your next one?
An ectopic pregnancy.
Ooh, I love it. Okay. I also wanted to
Because
shout
the
out.
differential in the beginning can be, because there's a whole set of differential. I wanted to pick something that has a broader differential, and then you can narrow it to one. So I think ectopic suits that one too.
Oh, fantastic. I wanted to give you kudos for employing the energy of your learners to build your audio for your module. Always tapping that. They seem to have an unquenchable thirst to help, you know, like they were ready, and you definitely got some eager students, and I love that.
Yeah, and they're so natural at technology. You don't have to, you know, you just tell them what you want. There are some great artists that are hiding in the whole group. There are some amazing technology enthusiasts who are there. So you just have to put it out there. And literally one of the blocks, like before all these things, this was before this academic year, the last blocks, I was like, hey, if anybody is interested, I have this project. And 4 people volunteered, and 2 of them were like, I can do it within this much of time, because this is my timeline, and happened within like, I created this whole thing within like 7 days.
That is fantastic. Look at you harnessing the power. I love it.
But one other thing you need to remember is the download. So the Qualtrics has unlimited responses for us, like because UCLA bought it. So you have to understand that some of the survey machines have limited number of responses. So you have to be very careful about choosing something, because this I'm planning to keep going eternally. So we have sometimes our medical education staff changes, so you have to give them permission, so you don't forget, because the student who did it is almost kind of graduating, so she had done the Qualtrics survey, so we had to make sure that we transferred all that thing to us so that we keep it and we keep running it. And technology comes with its own like downside. So those are some of the things that we were like, oh, okay, wait, now who gets all the authority to download, change the survey if need be. And that's the thing. I can change the case. I can add something very easily. So everything is very easily doable.
The students will probably also replace themselves, right? As they graduate, they'll, other students will hear, oh, this is the person who's working with working with this, and it'll be self-perpetuating if you're lucky, right?
Yeah. And I also have like, when I have said something new, there's OB interest groups as well. So some of the first and second years who are really dying to do something like more clinical and want to do, help out the team who are about them. That's another group that I've tapped into. And they've been some great help as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other questions from our audience? I can tell you both worked so hard on your collective works, and thank you for taking the time to, one, submit an abstract, get it accepted, be ready to pivot to this virtual way of demonstrating your tech and sharing it with us today. And that was no easy feat, turning it so fast. So
we want to thank you for allowing us to present our research as well. I'm sure Surinder shares the same feeling, but thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay. Well, we may be finishing a little bit early, which maybe that's okay. We can have a little break because we were just 2 people presenting instead of 3. And that way people have time to like have a restroom break before they jump into the last session of the day. So, okay.
Yeah.
It was so nice to
Great.
meet you both. If I can ever be of help to
Same
you,
here.
my name is Jill Sutton. I'll put my stuff in the chat, suttonji@ecu.edu, in Greenville, North Carolina, where it is 43 degrees. I think
Oh,
colder
wow.
than you guys, but really, if I can be of help, reach out.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
You are
Thank
great.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Surinder, right? Nice to meet you.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah, take care.